How are you guys doing? It is Monday, August 24th, 2020. I hear in this quarantine. And for this episode of The Elite, this is the first time I'm going to do this because this is the first time a team has won a big time championship since I've started doing this. So just like I've been doing the player profiles, I'm going to do a championship profile on the teams that win, especially in big seasons. I'm going to do it for baseball, basketball, football, and soccer for now. And then once I know more about other sports, I'm going to get into those. But for this episode, I'm going to talk about the 2019-2020 FC Bayern Munich season. Of course, all-time great season. Bayern Munich just won the Bundesliga. They won the Deutsche Football or the German soccer tournament, which is the domestic tournament, and they won Champions League after beating PSG 1-0 in the finals yesterday. So I feel like it's necessary to go through, just to go through what this team had gone through. But first, I'm going to start out with the players that made Bayern Munich. Of course, and this is the season already where Frank Ribery and Arjen Robben had just retired, and that was the end of that Bayern era. James Rodriguez had gone back to Real Madrid. Mats Hummels went back to Borussia Dortmund. Rafinha went back to Flamengo. And then Renato Sanchez went to Lille, and they also added in Benjamin Pavard from VfB Stuttgart. They added Lucas Hernandez from Atletico Madrid. He was hurt for a bit, but he still played. They added Fiete Arp, a really good young German player. They added Ivan Perisic from Serie A, Michael Cuisance from Mönchengladbach, and he had a pretty big game for them when he got there. They added Philippe Coutinho from Barcelona on loan, and he ended up being very, very big for them. So additionally, they had Manuel Neuer in goal. They had out of the defenders, they had Niklas Sule, who was hurt for most of the year. He's really been big for them. Benjamin Pavard, who scored a goal at the game that I went to, but he's a very good, amazing passer. They had Javi Martinez, who didn't play as much as the year. They had Jerome Boateng, who came in very clutch for them, especially since the season picked up in the quarantine. Additionally, they had Lucas Hernandez, who didn't play much because he was dealing with his injuries, but he'd been playing really well. They had Alphonso Davies playing left back, who's been a phenomenal young up and coming Canadian star. They got him the season prior. They didn't expect him to be much. They moved him back to left back because he was initially a winger. But they moved them back there, and he's been able to hold his own, and he's been able to grow into one of the league's best young players, one of the world's best young players. They had David Alaba, from Austria on their center or as one of their center defenders, who's been showing up. I imagine he was on that team that won back in 2013, but I don't want to jump to that. But Joshua Kimmich also came in clutch for them as a big defender, big German defender. He was the player who had the assist to Kingsley Coman. He's had some crazy good assists throughout Champions League. Joshua Kimmich, before this next season, I think I will add him. I will add his profile to the list of other elite players that I have. But those are the main players. And then those are the main defenders. Going to the midfielders, they have Thiago at number 6, who many people believe is going to go to Liverpool next season. If he does, he played incredibly well. They also had Philippe Coutinho, like I just said, who was on loan, who played incredibly well for them in Champions League. He was even subbed in the Champions League final for a bit. Also, they had Leon Goretzka, who they got a couple of years ago. I forgot exactly from which Bundesliga team they got him. But I think it was Schalke, but don't take my word for that one. But Leon Goretzka, he's been the workhorse the entire time, playing in the middle, making a lot of tough passes, making a lot of tough plays. I don't think I don't think his effort goes unnoticed. Additionally, in the midfield, they had Kingsley Coman as one of the wingers, Corentin Tolisso, both from France. Kingsley Coman got the goal last night. Just they're playing incredibly well. They have Ivan Perisic as one of the wingers that they got from Inter Milan. They had Thomas Müller, who was already a German legend by then, who had already won with Bayern Munich when they won the treble, and he won the World Cup. But he was able to win a second one this time. And this year, he broke the Bundesliga assist record. He had 21 assists in a 34-game Bundesliga season, which is basically unheard of. He broke Kevin De Bruyne's Bundesliga record this year. And crazy impressive for him to do that. Additionally, on the front, they had Serge Gnabry, who was running opposite of Kingsley Coman, who had scored 7 or 8 goals in Champions League himself, that's a lot of goals to score in Champions League. And then, of course, running it from the front was the brilliant Robert Lewandowski, wearing number 9, who finished with, I think, 16 goals in the Champions League season. And had there been legs, he very easily would have passed Cristiano Ronaldo. He scored in every single Bundesliga game except for the final, but he did so much in the final to help secure that win for Bayern Munich. And the crazy thing about Robert Lewandowski was when he first joined Bayern Munich, that was the year after they had won Champions League. So he wasn't a part of the first treble. But now, as arguably the best player in the world, I think if the Ballon d'Or would have been awarded this year, Robert Lewandowski would have won the Ballon d'Or. I think this was the season for him to win the treble and for him to cement himself. To me, he's already an all-time soccer great for just pulling off this season, right? So that's the team. That's the squad. So first, Bayern Munich, the prior season, had already placed into the Champions League after winning the Bundesliga the year before. They beat Dortmund by 2 points in the league. So they qualified and they were put in a group. They were first put in group stage with Tottenham Hotspur, Olympiacos, and Red Star Belgrade. But first, to get on to the season, first off, they started off with a draw against Hertha Berlin. They beat Schalke and Mainz back-to-back. Then they tied RB Leipzig, and this is with Niko Kovac being the manager. Then they beat Köln and Paderborn. Then they lost to Hoffenheim, tied with Augsburg. They beat Union Berlin at the game that I went to. Then the very next game, they lost to Eintracht Frankfurt, and they immediately fired Niko Kovac. So I was at the last game that Niko Kovac won, October 26, 2019. I have the receipts to prove it. That was the last game that Niko Kovac won, but then immediately they promoted Hansi Flick to interim manager, and then from then he only lost 2 games. He won his first 2 games against Dortmund and he beat Fortuna Düsseldorf, but then he lost his next 2 games to Leverkusen and Mönchengladbach, and since then Bayern Munich hadn't lost a game in Champions League. Even just going through December, they beat Werder Bremen, Freiburg, Wolfsburg, Hertha Berlin. They were humming. The only draw that they had was against RB Leipzig, who had Timo Werner at the time, and it was still 0-0. And Manuel Neuer in goal for the Bundesliga. He would only allow 29 goals in the 33 matches that he played. He had 15 clean sheets on the season for Bayern to get to where they are. They would eventually run the table. They would finish with 26 wins, 4 draws, 4 losses, scoring 100 goals in 34 matches played, only allowing 32 as a team, with a 68 goal differential and 82 points in the league. If you were trying to add all that up, they beat second place Dortmund by 13 points in the league, and they won it very comfortably. And on top of Thomas Müller assisting 21 goals in a Bundesliga season, Robert Lewandowski scored 34 goals in 31 Bundesliga games, along with 4 assists. Still incredible season. That was how amazing their Bundesliga season was, and that was their first title, right? And then, of course, they played in the DFB Pokal, and in this matchup, because the DFB Pokal is just the German domestic tournament where they have, instead of just the teams just from the top tier of the Bundesliga, they have all of the professional teams. They all just compete in a knockout stage. You just compete once, and if you're out, you're out. They beat Energy Cottbus 3-1. They beat VfL Bochum in the second round. Hoffenheim, they beat Hoffenheim 4-3 in the round of 16. They beat Schalke 1-0 in the quarterfinals. They beat Eintracht Frankfurt 2-1. And this was right after quarantine came back. And then they immediately beat Bayer Leverkusen I think it was right after they finished the season. So at that point, they had already won the double. And that's 2 parts of their championship right there. And even in that, Robert Lewandowski scored 6 goals in 5 Pokal matches. So, they're just competing like crazy. And Manuel Neuer would have, he would have one clean sheet. He'd only allow 5 goals in those 6 matches that he played in. Just elite play from both of these guys, just all-time greats in the making, honestly. And then, of course, continuing on, they would go on to beat Red Star Belgrade in group stage 3-0. Then they beat Tottenham Hotspur 7-2. They beat Olympiacos 3-2. Then they beat them 2-0 on the other end of it. They beat Red Star Belgrade 6-0 for a 9-0 aggregate. And they beat Tottenham Hotspur 3-1 for a 10-3 just like aggregate total score of them playing. They did not lose a game in group stage, which is rare because I think they're the only team to win Champions League that hasn't lost at all along the way. By the way, they won all of their games. Amazing games from each. Even in the 7-goal game, Serge Gnabry scored 4 goals. Wild game. So once they got to knockout phase, they would face off they were slotted to play against Chelsea, and this was before COVID. In the first game, they beat Chelsea 3-0, completely wiped them, clean sheeted them. The next game, they would go from February 25th to that would be the first leg. Their second leg was on August 8th. Then they beat Chelsea 4-1, so it was 7-1 on aggregate because they allowed them to play in Bayern Munich because they were the round of games that hadn't played their second game. So they were able to best Chelsea 7-1, just kind of embarrass them. The next game they would play in Portugal at the neutral site. They play against FC Barcelona, and they'd wipe them 8-2. And at this point, Robert Lewandowski scored a goal in every single game up until this moment, right? Up until this point, they're 9-0 in Champions League, have not lost, big win, and they move on to face Lyon in the semifinals, where they clean sheet them 3-0. Neuer does not allow a single goal. That's the second clean sheet and knockout. And then they get to the final against PSG, where the header by Kingsley Coman, assisted by Joshua Kimmich, would put Bayern Munich up 1-0. And Manuel Neuer in goal would not allow PSG with their amazing attack of Neymar and Mbappe, and they had their opportunities. They didn't score. And as of right now, and to cap off, Bayern Munich would go 11-0 in Champions League. They would finish with 6 clean sheets out of the 11 games. 3 of the 5 knockout games they played were clean sheets. Lewandowski was scoring all but 1. In Champions League, he'd have 15 goals and 5 assists in 10 matches. He was a part of 20 scoring plays in 10 matches. Incredible. Just insane. He finished the season with a total of 61 goals and 57 total matches played with 11 assists. And he had 8 penalty goals, 2 of which were in Champions League. Just amazing season for Bayern Munich, beginning to end. Even just looking at everyone else who scored, just great seasons for them all. Serge Gnabry would have 23 total goals on the season. He had 12 in the Bundesliga. Thomas Müller had 18 goals to go along with his 12 assists in the Bundesliga. Just amazing all-around great team. And when I look back at the best teams of the 2019, 2020, this was the perfect team to end the 2010s and to begin the 2020s, because I think this is going to be the first championship for a while for this team. And this team just added Leroy Sané, who didn't take part in this. But if Bayern Munich continues to play the way that they do and they move their pieces around, right, because some people are going to leave and some people are going to come in, I think Bayern Munich is the favorite to win next year just because of how easily they dominated this year and how much better they're getting with Leroy Sané in their attack. But with that said, congratulations to the 2019-2020 FC Bayern Munich squad. This is crazy. I was there for this year. This is the year I went to Oktoberfest, and this was the year that I was able to go see them live at the end of my wild fall break. It was an amazing year, and their season starts in the middle of September too. But I can't wait for the next season of Champions League to start. But as of right now, as of the elite, my first Champions profile of the year is going to the 2019-2020 FC Bayern Munich team. But with that said, I want to thank you once again for listening to all 15 minutes of this. Once again, it is Monday, August 24th, 2020, here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims. This is The Elite. Thanks for hearing my piece. Peace out.